The special meeting of the Board of Trustees of Little Elm LEISD will be held this evening, August 14, 2014, beginning at 6:30 p.m. in the Little Elm High School Lecture Hall. I'd like to welcome everyone who is present in attendance of this meeting. This evening's agenda will be fairly light. We'll call Pledge of Allegiance, roll call. Action items will be to have presentations presented by search proposal firms, and then we will basically have some future agenda items, board committee, board comments, and then adjournment for the meeting. With that said, will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Time.
Oh, time, 6:32. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pledge the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Please be seated. All right. Sonia, you roll call.
Ms. Leanna Harding? Here. Mr. DeLeon English?
Here.
Mr. Matthew Gutierrez?
Here.
Mr. Alejandro Flores?
Here.
Ms. Melissa Myers? Here. And absent Ms. Stephanie Gregg, Mr. Cooper Vigas, and Mr. Christopher Williams.
Thank you very much, and we do have a quorum this evening. Great. First item of business, action item, discuss and approve the superintendent's search proposals. Last week, we had an opportunity to review several search proposals that were before the board. Those proposals yielded a couple of different firms to come and do a presentation before us. And in that presentation will come some discussions and a vote for approval of a search firm for search for superintendent. At this time, we'll go into the presentation portion. And who will be presenting first?
We'll be waiting for a second.
Okay, you waiting for someone right now?
No, we're waiting for a second.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Let them go first.
Okay, sounds good. What we request is, of course, Sister, step out, please. Yes, and then they'll just come in and read the presentation. So the first search firm is Mr. Bob Griggs Search Firm.
How about Briggs? Hey, Mr. President. Is this gonna be all right here? You want us back?
That'd be fine.
This is pretty close and perfect.
Yeah, temporary quarters.
Name?
October will be the,
Oh, okay.
What you doing?
Deli Honey, it's a pleasure to meet you, Richard.
sorry.
And then,
So sorry.
that's it. Deborah, Deli Honey, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
Are you guys going to do this electronic, or are you going to have this electronic? Okay.
We're gonna talk to you.
Okay. Okay.
You ready, Mr. President?
Yes, we are. Let me see here, make sure I got
You're
everything.
so far down there.
What's that? Come join us. Join us.
Board, I'm Bob Griggs, and it's a pleasure for us to be with you tonight. Thank you for the invitation. I'm excited about the possibilities of Little Elm. We're just old school people, and we see Little Elm as having some bright prospects. So let me introduce the associates that are with me. To my immediate right is Richard Owenby. Richard has been superintendent of schools in several school districts throughout the state. He would claim to be the youngest superintendent in the state at one time. I claim that, but anyway, we'll argue about that some other time. He retired a couple of years ago as the executive director of the service center in Fort Worth. And then to his right is Don Daniel. Don has served in education for years. His last superintendency where he retired, he was the superintendent of Aledo ISD. And I don't know if you know anything about Aledo ISD, but Don Daniel is the one that made Aledo Aledo. There are some arguments that Aledo could be the best school district in the state of Texas. I put them in the top 5, and Don argues with me about that. So. And then, last but not least, our newest associate is Deborah Crone, and she's been an educator for many, many years as well, assistant superintendent in Garland, and then finished her career as the superintendent in Weatherford ISD. Dr. Debbie Tribble, another associate that would be working with us, could not be here with us tonight. She had a previous commitment. But Mr. President, board members, you're looking at about 2 centuries of administrative experience before you. I know Deborah looks much too young for that, but we do count her years with us. The firm has been in existence since the late 80s, and we have over 250 searches under our belt, not only the state of Texas, but other states as well. We've had one failure during that time. We've only had one person terminated during the length of the first contract with the service of the school district. So we would put that record up against any consulting firm, not only in the state of Texas, but in the nation as well. Our product is guaranteed. If you don't like us at the end of our journey together, you just don't pay me. I'll pay these guys, but you don't pay me. So, and also, we'll guarantee you that if your candidate, if you terminate them during the length of the contract, or they leave for some reason, I will come back and do your search at no cost to you other than expenses. In fact, I'm doing one right now to my great displeasure. Lake Worth, that gentleman was recruited and went to Education Service Center executive directorship over in East Texas. I can understand him wanting to do that, but still at the same time, it's a deficit for that school district, the kids there. At this time, I'm going to let Richard and Don talk to you about the process, and then I'll come back and give you some final words.
Our first function is to find you not only a qualified superintendent, but the right superintendent for your community. This is the most important decision that the school board will make, and we understand that. We've worked for many school boards in our career, and we know the importance of that relationship. So along those lines, we will spend time in your district talking to community groups of your choice, whether that be the Lions Club, Ministerial Alliance, Booster Clubs, whatever groups you tell us you want us to meet with, we will meet with those. We will meet with the staffs of every school. We will meet with you. We will set up citizens input committees at the time and date that you would like for us to set those up. And we will build a profile of the candidate and the characteristics, both professionally and personally, that you want your superintendent to have, that matches Little League. We want someone who wants to be in Little Elm and wants to make a difference in the lives of your children. And that's the person we will look for. We will post the job immediately, but we will not start interviewing, investing, and Dr. Briggs will not start interviewing until we match the candidates with the profile that has been developed for your community. And we say, well, everyone, those are going to look the same. Well, we've done this in Pflugerville, we've done this in Irving, we've done this in Lakewood, we've done this in Garner, which is a K-8 school, and they do not look the same. They meet the community and what the community wants to see in that superintendent. Now, skill-wise, certainly, you want a person with competencies in all areas that you can get. But there are certain competencies that may be more important to you, whether that's curriculum and instruction, student achievement, finance, governance, whatever that may be, just a community type person. But we will find that, and then we will bring those in. Dr. Griggs will, after we do the paper search, Dr. Griggs will interview probably the top 15. And then from that process, we will bring you the top 5. And from that top 5, you will not be able to make a mistake. You're going to like one of them better than you like the other 4. But you will have a candidate or several candidates that you can hire out of that group that will do the job you want done for the children of Little M ISD. Richard.
And then the second very important part of that is screening those applicants and recruiting. We want to bring you someone that's very happy where they are, not looking for a job. I was in Dublin ISD yesterday doing something else, and so I stopped by and just stuck my head in the door for superintendent. District had been there 10 years, and just said, you know, I'm working with Bob Griggs and Associates these days, and you know, we've tried to recruit you before for jobs, you know, but we still want to get you to come. He's turned us down every other time, and I said, no, we're going to make a presentation at Little M. And he said, you know, I might be interested in Little M. If you get that, give me a call. But the point I'm trying to make is we're trying to find not people who are looking for jobs or whose board is wanting them to look for a job, but somebody that's happy where they are, but that we could persuade to come in where there's a good opportunity and there's a fit. And so the recruiting is extremely important. And equally important with that, then is the screening. Now, this firm was founded by Dr. Hoyt Watson and Dr. John Townley back in the 80s, and I interviewed with them back in the day, as we would say, and that's been 15 years ago or longer. And you'd have to know those two. They were characters, and you get them, they make you meet them, you know, like Dr. Griggs says. You're going to come, and you know, you're a little nervous, you don't know, and you're thinking, well, they know me, what are they really going to say? First question they'd say, you cheat on your wife? And you say, oh gosh, that's the last question I ever thought I'd be asking in my life in an interview. Well, it rattled you so much. Now you're scared to death of what's next. And the point I'm making, we don't do it that way. We're going to find out. We're going to find out if they've got skeletons in the closet. And we're going to make sure that you get a candidate that doesn't turn out to be like one, you know, that happened south of Dallas, and, you know, in the first or third day on the job, you know, they're under indictment back in another state. And that's one of the things that we work really hard at. So we have a long list of people that we call. They give us a set of their references, but we call their local minister, we call the Chamber of Commerce, we call, if there's a college in the town, we call the college administrators. We call all of those people, and we say, you know, if your superintendent were to leave, how do you think the town would react? Tell us about, you know, what you think. And so we work that and work it very, very thoroughly. And in the end, you know, as Dr. Griggs will say, I'm going to give you 5 people, and it could be 6, and it could be 4, any of which can do the job. Any of which is good. It's just like a courtship or a dating process. Now is who do we fall in love with, and who will fall in love with us, and here, this is the direction we want to go. In the end, you get a notebook, color-coded, with all of the information about those 5 candidates. More information than you might want to know. We do credit reference checks. You know, we feel like if they can't manage their own money, you don't want them managing your money. So.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely, anytime.
Mr. Dye, you had indicated that you bring the top 15 candidates to Mr. Briggs,
Yes.
correct?
Well, when we screen the paper applications, we screen them down to the top 15, yes, sir.
How many do you look at before getting to the 15, to the final 15?
The last job, I believe, the firm did, and I was doing the interim superintendency for Cleveland ISD this past March through July, so I didn't participate in the search, but they did the search, and I believe there were 36 candidates for that job. Yes, sir. When we did Irving, ISD, I think there were closer to 40, 45, and we recruited, I think 9 of those. And the gentleman that Irving hired, we recruited out of Lockhart. He was not looking for a job.
Are you looking outside of the state as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be a national search. All of our searches are national searches. Go ahead.
And we advertise the positions. If you're familiar with Texas ISD, if you're in Texas, Texas ISD is a website, and they post every vacancy, and there's a schedule there of the timelines and the procedures, and you hit the link. If we were to get it, you know, you'd hit little m, and it will route you through to Dr. Griggs. But it'll show all the process, everything that you have to do. And then Texas superintendents know that, and that's where they go. But we can also advertise in Education Week, which is a national publication with the Texas, the National Association of School Administrators, advertise with those people as well.
We build a profile face-to-face, and if you would like for us to put it on the web, we'll do so. But we like that face-to-face contact. We want to meet people, we want to get comfortable with people so they will tell us what they want. They won't be just going to the computer and answering the survey. So we want to personalize that as much as possible. Out of the last 5 years, 90% of our placements are still in place. Out of the last 3 years, 95% of our placements are still in place. So,
Of those placements, when if you go back, do you have any, I guess I want to think about some of the candidates that you've actually placed that were supposed to meet the profile. Have you had someone that had a district that was really needing to improve their academic and they were successful at it? What's the track record on that?
from both the academic standpoint and really building relationships and community, Irving ISD was that, had that type of a profile, what they wanted. They needed someone who could unite the community, who had the ability to focus the instructional program and set priorities, and Dr. Pryor has done that for them. They've been very pleased. A year later, they're still singing his praises and still in a honeymoon stage. So if honeymoon lasts that long, that's pretty good there.
Cleburne was looking for many of the same things. The Chisholm Trail Parkway has just opened up, and they feel like they're at a crossroads. And they're going to go one of two ways, and the community's ready, but the school district, they perceive the school district image to not be what they want it to be. And so they were looking for somebody that could come in, raise the academics. They want to build a new high school and quite a few things. And Don was there as interim, and he could see it, but they're ready for what they perceive the coming growth, but they believe that they've got to improve their image, and in order to do so, they've got to get rid of some turmoil and do some things. So it's too early to tell in that, but it was a profile, and we were looking for someone that could do many of the kinds of things that you just
It had some low-performing schools, and so the perception was that the district was low-performing. It really was not, but we had need for improvement. So we started focusing on that, and to be honest with you, the focus had become on the adults and on the staff, and what was good for the staff and for the adults rather than what's good for children. And so we had to turn that back and put what's important as a priority. And so they're well on the way of doing that. So we're moving in the right direction. I think they'll make great strides in your doctor.
Let me come back and interject on both of your questions, if I might. Historically, we'll receive 25 to 60 applications for any job, and depending upon the location. And, you guys are perfectly located. Who doesn't want to live on the lake in the Metroplex? Now, after driving the tollway 121 over there, I don't know about that. I talked to my associates, boy, I'd be in a nasty mood when I'd ride home if I had to do this every day. But, say you have 60. 15 of those I can just automatically review and just throw away because there'll be someone that just doesn't have the skill traits to be your next superintendent. And then we'll hone that down, and as Don Richard one mentioned, we will invite 10 to 15 to the office and interview them. And I don't ask as bold a question as what Mr. Bowlby said, but I've made a living for 40 years in choosing good people to be around me, as you can see right here. So the number of applications really are not indicative of excellence. So the heart and soul of our business is in recruitment. Through our experience, particularly in the state of Texas, we know virtually everyone in the state that's been around, and a lot of assistant and deputy superintendents. So that's going to be our forte if you employ us. Then back to your question, districts that we've worked with, your profile is going to drive us in who we go out there and recruit. You're going to tell them what you want in your next leader. You know, if it's student achievement, if it's business, if it's PR, whatever it is. And that's what we're going to go out and recruit for you. So that when we walk back in here to you at the end of this journey, we're going to hand you that booklet that he's talking about, and embedded in that booklet is going to be individuals that you just cannot make the wrong decision. Any of those folks will be an outstanding leader for LEISD, because I'm putting my brand on it. You know, I'm giving you my guarantee. If you're not happy, then I haven't earned a cent from you. But that profile will drive us. Our search is just labor intensive. We'll spend 3 days in Little Elm, and all 4 of us may be here during some of that time. We will conduct, every educator in Little Elm will have an opportunity to talk to us. Every educator. And I'm talking about down to the custodian, the bus driver, the food service, as well as central. Every educator. You will tell us also groups that you want us to meet with. We'll probably meet with 20, 30 different groups in Little Elm during that 3 days. So when we walk away, there will be no one in Little Elm that can say they didn't have an opportunity to provide direct input into the selection of their next superintendent. We'll hold at least 1, maybe 2 town hall meetings at night, to where, you know, mamas and daddies that work can't be available during the day. They can come up and talk to us at night. So we develop all of those in its traits and characteristics that everybody tells us about. And of course, it's a consensus, so we need to hear it said more than once. And then we'll come back and we'll say, board, this is what your community is saying. Now you tell us what you want. And we'll come up with that profile, which incidentally will be a confidential document only between the board and my associates and I, because we don't want a candidate to reinvent themselves to fit you. We want the true and correct personality to shine through. So it'll be a confidential document until you employ your next superintendent and the world can ask for it. So, but that's, you know, I don't apologize for the amount that we put down because it's so labor intensive. You know, I could cut my cost in half by us not coming, you know, holding one meeting in Little Elm and talking to you and going on about our business. But that's not the way to only have one termination and 250 searches in a 30-year process. The process, and I wish I could take credit for that. I can't. My predecessors were the ones that honed that, but it is a great process. Your community will be very, very happy that you employed Griggs and Associates when we leave here, because we're going to reach out and touch them. We're going to reach out and touch the business community. We'll talk to Ministerial Alliance. We'll talk to civic organizations. So we're going to be out there. We're going to be accessible.
In Irving, we held 64 meetings.
Now Irving's got 30,
Yeah, like earnings.
39,000
bigger.
kids, you know, so you shrink that.
Hopefully we won't have to do that here.
Yeah.
Three different chamber of commerce.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about timelines? Just what are some of the timelines, you guys?
And if I could just add here, if you choose, we will do brochures like these. We don't charge anything other than the expense. That's Eagle Mountain Saginaw.
Deborah, would you mind, so I can concentrate, I need. Pass those out for me.
But you will provide us with the information you want in that brochure to a great extent. It's a good way to advertise your district.
Now, this is a proposed timeline for you to look at, and it's ideally suited to get you a new leader in at the first of the year. All of these dates are very, very fluid and flexible except for one. And you will have to tell me that date, and it's the interview dates. All 7 of you board members need to be present for all of the interviews. You know, we've tried videoing, we've tried audioing, we've tried individual board members one-on-one. It just doesn't work unless you are collectively together. So you will tell me, according to your calendar, you will drive that component. And then I'll build the rest of the timeline around that. So if you were to call us tonight at the end of this meeting and say, Griggs, we want you to do the search, we'll start advertising tomorrow, and we'll advertise until October the 24th. So we'll have a couple of months there to have the advertisement. And one of your board members asked about isn't just Texas, and I can assure you we will have a lot of national candidates. You and I need to have a conversation about that. And another thing, don't hire me unless you want the truth, because I'm just always going to be frank and blunt and say, board, I work for you, here are the facts, bam, 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 then you tell me. But I would be derelict if I didn't tell you my opinion and historically of what has worked. So, but we will have a national search. We've had at least one candidate in the last year that was out of state that the board interviewed at one of our school districts. So we'll work hard for you. And at the end of the process, once you have employed your new leader, after they're on board for a month, 6 weeks, you'll call me and I'll come back and I'll do a team of 8 training with you. It's just part of the fee that I charge you, but you get 3 hours of credit with the School Board Association. And I've been told, not tooting my own horn, but I've been told by boards that it's the best training that they've ever had. Boards have tried to employ me to come and do that training for them, but then I jack my price up so much they can't afford me because I don't want to do it. So, but it will be free for you. If you employ us, I'm yours 24/7 for your life. You may not want me for your life, but I'll be yours for your life. I won't come back and scavenge your superintendent.
That was my next question.
I will want to. I will want to.
How long though, but how long? That would be my
Forever.
question.
You're mine for life.
Okay.
You're mine for life. And I will want to. I want to come back and recruit your person because they'll fit a profile of some school district that I'm working on.
I'm writing never.
Never.
Remember that.
Never. You can, it's my guarantee. It's my word of honor.
Okay.
It's all I have to give you. There's one exception. That one exception is that candidate calls me and says, Griggs, you know, my mom and dad live in that school district. My grandchildren need to be there with their grandparents. Can you put me in? I say, no, I can't put you in it unless the board president calls me and says that I can consider it. That's the only way I can consider it. Okay? And I've had some folks do that over the years. And when I tell them that, they say, oh, I don't know. And I said, well, I'm not going to consider you unless your board president calls me and tells me the board agrees that you can be one of my candidates. Because I've given them my word of honor.
I can live with that.
let me give you my business card, and if you will, write down my personal cell phone number. I told you I'm yours 24/7, and I mean that. My personal cell phone number is, if no one in this room writes this number down, okay? Yeah, this guy over here.
Well, one thing we do have, videos.
Here, write it down.
Here, write
I'll
down
pass
what
it.
we
I'll
said.
pass it down 'cause it-
Oh.
put it on the video.
All right.
All right.
It's very easy to remember.
There we go.
If you don't employ me, throw that number away, okay? But if you employ me, keep it close to your heart and call me. I have board members call me that I did their search 5, 6, 7 years ago. And they'll just call and they say, Griggs, what about? And we'll have a conversation. So that's what I mean about being yours for life. Mr. President, we were asked, we sent these to the district before. So do you want another copy of
Well,
them?
I've got the printed copy, so I know for me, I would like.
I still like one.
Yes.
What else would like?
You need more cards?
Yeah, we have 2 for Mr. Biggis,
We need,
and 3 also.
yeah, 3 total.
Would you like to keep these for the board members not
Yes,
present?
yes, actually, keep it.
I need a couple more than that.
Wait, no, actually, one more. Yeah. 3, 2, 3. Thank you, sir, appreciate it.
With that, Mr. President, Board, the associates and I will stand for questions.
I think, most of my questions were answered, particularly about the building of a profile, which was a really interesting aspect, which is going to be important to the community. As a board, of course, you know, our biggest thing is we represent all the kids in our district, and achievement is important to us as a board and for our students. And so we're working towards that main goal. That is our goal. And so to build a profile will definitely help us achieve that goal and directive that we have as a board for our community. The guaranteed work, that's an important aspect. So the only other question I have, we talked about a little bit about the timelines, potentials of opportunity board members going out to potentially see candidates in action. You know, that is an option to be able to go and see those candidates in action. Do you guys provide something like that?
Yes. That is a component of ours. Once we have narrowed it down to the individual that you think that you have fallen in love with, we'll facilitate a district and 3 of you. You can't take a majority, so 3 of you go and they'll talk to the 3 board officers. They'll talk to several principals. They'll talk to classroom teachers on down the line. And then I ask my board members when they're in that community to stop at the local grocery store and go in and stop somebody that's shopping and say, what do you think about your superintendent? To eat someplace in the community and ask the waitress, ask the clerk, and then stop at a local gas station. What do you think about your school district? What do you think about your superintendent? So that you can confirm, you know, we've already confirmed, we're already confident that the individual has nothing to hide. But we want you also to confirm that, and that's that last hurdle before you actually come out and say, this is our long finals for the school district.
Kind of touch base on some of the stuff that we have with the community that you mentioned. We actually we cross multiple city or town boundaries with multiple mayors that really want to give their input. So when y'all talk about different communities, you'll go outside
Go to
the
each one of
entire
those
district.
communities, and we'll talk to the mayor and city council, city manager, and whomever else they want to bring into the meeting.
Okay, because I want to make sure that we get, because for me, that's the biggest part. Like you said, we've got a huge district, we have multiple boundaries, and I want to make sure we cover all of it.
And I would venture to say there won't be any other consulting firm that would take the time to do all that.
That's one right.
Okay.
Know how important that is. Deborah and I were both in Parker County And then LEISD, little community, is 3.5 square miles. The district's 131 square miles. And I had 7 different municipalities within that school district. So you need to know all those people.
Yeah.
You need their input because a large portion of their children are coming from each little pond.
Yeah.
And Dr. Brown was the same way.
So y'all have dealt with that, so, okay, good. That's a nuance that creates a lot of.
My last superintendency in Birdville, I had the city of Fort Worth, Haltom City, Watauga, Richland Hills, North Richland Hills, Hurst, part of Keller and part of Cottonville. So,
Any other questions from the board? All right. Mr. Rodriguez.
most important decision you guys make right now. So good luck to you,
Thank you.
regardless.
Mr. Rodriguez, thank you.
You've chosen it.
All
Yeah,
right,
thank
thank you
you.
very much. Don't worry, I'll figure it out. Got it.
That's great.
Thanks so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for your time.
You took the most notes, so
Oh.
we're gonna give you a
I'm in charge, so.
certificate.
Have a gold star. Thank you, ma'am. I'm glad you moved down, because I was having a hard time seeing you.
I'm closer now.
Good luck to you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to distribute these to the community as well.
We can do this for the other board members that are not here, if you like, that's all right with you.
Yeah, that'll be fine. All right, you gave a total of 15.
So our next presentation will be presented by Kate Bassman International Corps. And presented is Mr. Gibson?
Mr. Gibson?
Okay, and Mr. Trey Wright.
That's me.
All right, great.
So is there a decorum that you guys like to follow, or do we just get started?
We get started.
Okay. To the members of the community and to the board, thank you very much for having us. First of all, I understand, if I do correctly, that we are the 2 firms that have been selected for the final choice. Okay.
That is correct.
Very good. Well, we certainly appreciate that. As you might have been able to ascertain by now, K. Bassman International is a multifaceted search firm, which means we have a number of practices who have somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 30 different practices under one roof. And our practice is dedicated to education. Education at both the secondary and post-secondary level. We're going to turn it over to Greg so that Greg can kind of give us an overview of the first few pages. And then when we get into the search process, I'm going to jump back in the mix and give you guys a thorough understanding of how we do what we do. Okay.
And might move 15 minutes.
We have 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Go. Clicker's acting up. Okay, just specialization, as Trey was talking about, secondary and post-secondary education, talking about the secondary, the expertise, administrative leadership, superintendent, deputy superintendent, assistant superintendent, You know, also we go into, you know, we'll run a diverse search as well. We'll get into campus leadership, you know, with the principal, assistant principals, and then you go into your administration team and where they would, the chief financial officer, HR, and then also our concentration is gonna be on the athletic side. You know, having, just like a superintendent, you know, a lot of times you'll have that community, they'll request open records. They'll wanna know who's applying, and traditionally, you know, sometimes you'll have some superintendents are, you know, might hesitate a little bit to apply for the district just because they wanna keep their name clear at the first process. Same what you've seen in the last couple of years with athletic directors / head football coaches. You know, in most districts, that title is being changed or is split with athletic directors and head football coaches, but a lot of times you'll have that head football coach that is in a single, you know, single school district, just like Little Elm is, and where they would love to take that opportunity, but sometimes they're like, you know what? I don't know if I can risk, you know, being where I'm at to apply there. I would love to move my family there, but, you know, I'm not sure. And so what we'll do, we'll help the administrative team help with that search. You know, we've completed over 100 searches in the state of Texas, post-secondary and secondary. You know, we have an active candidate pool in every region of the U.S. Retention, highest retention rates with every group service year over year. Our database, we got over 7,000 contacts currently, and it's growing by the day. You know, with our team, and Trey's going to talk more about that, we are actively going into proactive, getting into the candidate pool on the post-secondary and the secondary searches. You know, you talk about the talent pool. You know, a lot of times, and Trey's going to talk more about it, you will have, you know, you'll have your candidates just traditionally apply with the school district, you know, but you think about it, in the state of Texas, you have over 1,200 superintendents. And then you go up north and you got Oklahoma, you got over 500, Arkansas. So around the surrounding states, including the state of Texas, you have over 2,500 candidates in that pool. And that's where us with a large team, we're allowed to go out and actually recruit those individuals. You know, and when we focus on a search, we always want to see what the community wants, the admin team wants, and sometimes that search could end up with, it could be somebody next door that's a current active superintendent.
All right, so let's talk about the search process a little bit. Now, am I just going right here? Just right here. Okay. So let's talk about the search process. And now, what I want to do is I want to first qualify what a true search firm does. Okay? And I'm sure that a lot of people here have worked with search firms for a variety of skill sets. Kay Bassman, as I mentioned earlier, has a number of practices under one roof. The good thing about that is we're able to collaborate with one another. We're able to bounce ideas and information off of each other about what's best, what's working, what's not working, right? I think we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 125, 150 people under one roof, and we serve internationally. So the search process that we employ is called a client-focused search. You, Little Elm ISD, would obviously be that client that we focus on to ensure, first of all, that we're profiling the candidate properly, okay? So what is it that Little Elm is looking for? So we conduct a thorough job analysis with the board and with the community to determine what's going to be the best fit for this community and for this school, right? Determine what those qualifications are, exactly to the penny what you're looking for, from credentials to diversity piece, whatever it is you guys are looking for from a qualification and analysis perspective. We're going to make sure that we fit that. I like to call it apples and apples. Creating the requisition, which means that we're thoroughly, and sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, that might take an hour and a half to 2 hours at the superintendent level, maybe even a little longer sometimes. Because we know that you guys have something very specific that you're looking for in that requisition. And the more information that we can get from you and the community, the better our search process is going to be, which does a couple of things. The first thing that it does is it helps us efficiently find a candidate pool for you. So in other words, we're not throwing 3 or 4 candidates at you to see what sticks first. We're fine-tuning that search before we even put our first candidate in front of you. One of the things as the director of the department I like to say is every candidate that we submit to our client must pass my desk and my test, right? And I will tell a recruiter, a junior recruiter, a senior recruiter, whoever they are, I wouldn't lead with this. I just wouldn't, because it doesn't fit A, B, or C. Might fit D, E, and F, but just not A, B, and C. And those are some of the most important things that the school board is looking for and the community is looking for. Compensation structure. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're fitting, again, apples and apples. We don't want to bring somebody who's looking for $475,000 as a superintendent when your pay range is $200,000, right? Because we find that a waste of the time of not only us, but of the people we're working for. Next step is the candidate sourcing. One of the things that we do differently than most firms is instead of casting a wide net from a networking standpoint, we're a proactive recruiting firm. Proactive recruiting firm. And what that means is based on the criteria that you set, we analyze the market, determine where those people are, have conversations with 1,200 plus superintendents in the state of Texas to determine just how close they are to what you guys are looking for, right? Then we define the recruitment strategy, looking at referrals, direct sourcing. And direct sourcing, everybody knows what that is, or no? Direct sourcing? Basically, there's 1,258. Yep, 12. There's almost 1,300 superintendents in the state of Texas, right? Basically, what we want to do is we want to have a conversation with each one of them. And we will not stop until we've had a conversation with each one of them. Ideally, what we're trying to do is, again, determine just how close they're fitting to that niche. Now, what you'll find is a lot of those people aren't going to want to come to Little Elm, but our job is to help convince them that Little Elm is the place they need to be, and then help them see what it is you guys are helping us see about Little Elm that then gives them the idea, at the very least, to take a closer look, right? So sometimes when we take that closer look, what that's going to require is that that continued positive energy comes from the people who are in the interview process as well. And I'm sure each one of you have had that experience too. Plan and implement the strategy, diversity compliance, obviously in the education arena, that's very important. Company brand and promotion, which is again, gathering as much information as we can about the Little Elm area, the Little Elm school district, so that we can ensure that we're selling your area, we're selling your product, we're selling your school group efficiently and effectively. In a sense, what we want to become is an extension of the Little Elm School District, right? We want to know everything that you guys know so we can help sell that. The proprietary database. We've probably got over 7,000 names in our database, which helps us obviously increase our network and widen our network. One of the things that we do in every call that we make is we ask who do you know who might fit this role if you're not interested in this role. 9 times out of 10, people are willing to help other people, and we get that all. Candidate screening. What we're going to do in the candidate screening process is we're going to make sure, obviously, that we've identified and screened and reviewed the salary requirements and certifications, and then we're going to have face-to-face interviews as well. The good news about us being a Texas-based firm and working with Texas schools is we can actually go to where those places are, where we're looking to place those candidates. And we can have conversations with them face to face. We can see much more than what you can hear over the phone, and you get body language, and you get this person look the part and all that good stuff. Not to mention we've got every piece of technology you would ever want to use for video conferencing and telecom and all that good stuff. Candidate selection, basically what we want to do here is we want to make sure that we sit down with you guys and have a selection strategy, right? And what do we do once we find that right candidate? What are the steps that we're going to need to take to ensure that the right candidate is selected first, and secondly, takes the offer once the offer is made. We've got a variety of behavioral interview methodologies that we use. One of the other things that we're going to do from a questioning standpoint is we want to know from you guys, what are some of the questions that you would ask in an interview, right? So that we can ask those questions in an interview, and then ask you, if this person says X, is this a person you would want, or is this a person we should immediately eliminate? You know, so we can kind of narrow it down, get rid of the fat, I guess would be a good way to put it, and ensure that we're looking at only those that are, you know, as closely qualified as possible. Reference checking, we've got a whole team that does that. Technical skills, whatever technical skills you guys want us to check, we're able to do that as well. And then obviously personality fit from a testing perspective. We do a lot of leadership assessments and a lot of quantifiable testing procedures that ensure that we've got the right personality fit and culture fit. And then we turn it over to you guys for the offer and the HR paperwork, unless you want us to do that, because we can do that as well. Yes, sir.
What is your ideal process in creating that profile, that perfect profile for a candidate?
Yeah, that's a good question. It is sitting down with you, sitting down with the board, sitting down with the community, and finding out what that profile needs to look like.
Anyone else besides the community and ourselves?
You could go into the booster club. You could go, you know, the faculty and staff, you know, because that is your leader. That's the one who motivates your staff. That's the one who's the leader in your staff, you know, and their input is greatly valued.
How much time do you spend creating this profile?
We will be open to meet with them, and then also we're gonna have an online selection as well, and so they can put their input if they're unable to attend a meeting that we hold.
One of the other things that we do is we try to use technology as much as possible because we know people are busy, right? What we've done in the past, Mr. Flores and Dr. Flores? Mr. Flores, okay. I want to make sure. I have a couple of doctors in my family, and one of them wants you to call him doctor, the other one says, don't you ever call me doctor? So I just have to be sure. One of the other things that we do, and we do it pretty efficiently, is we utilize technology to ensure that we're able to get as much statistical data as we can get from the community and from the people that we're working for. Has everyone here heard of SurveyMonkey? Okay. Funny name, great product, right? What we try to use things like SurveyMonkey and different techniques that allow us an opportunity to gather as much information as we can to determine what the best look is going to be for the groups that we work for. You can do you can do a survey based on questions that we as a group have come up with that we feel are important to the community. We feel are important to the student body. We feel are important to whoever we want it to feel important to, or we need to have it feel important to, and then send those out based on a mailing list that you guys give us, or give it to you, and you can send out the mailing list. We can do the computations on our end. We can figure it out, and then that's part of the profile. That's just one other example of a way that we can build a profile.
To give you an example, we encompass 6 different towns, cities, whatever you want to call it. How in each area is somewhat unique.
Okay.
And, Little Elm is the largest, but we do have 5 other areas around us
feed
that feed in. And to try to capture, because what Little Elm wants may be different than Lakewood or Oak Point or Hackberry. We also have the Colony and Frisco. And each of them, they're all going to be looking for something a little different.
Sure.
And trying to capture that through SurveyMonkey.
Well, that was just one.
I understand, but so what would you do to get, because if you
Pull
come to
all
Little
of
Elm,
those
we might not be able to reach these cities that are further away. So
Right.
how would we be able to expand beyond a survey?
Yeah, well, the good news is we're based here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Okay.
So we could actually schedule meetings we could do community meetings, we could do forums, we could do whatever we needed to do. We're flexible flexibility is one of the things that we actually hang our hat on, and it's what's made us as successful as we've been over the last, several decades. And it's basically because we're lean and we're nimble and we can turn on a dime, because we're not married to a specific process or a specific style, because we know that we're dealing with a variety of thought processes, a variety of hopes and dreams and desires and everything else. What we want to do is we want to do what's right for the community and whatever's going to be the best fit for the community that we're serving. So, whatever you guys need us to do,
And
we're
I
able
don't know what program they use for attendance. Do y'all use Infinite Campus? What do y'all use for, as far as the teachers taking attendance, the communication to the parents? Maybe using that and utilizing that tool with the emails and sending out certain links so you're not capturing all of Denton, and all of Frisco, and you're just capturing, that small percentage of the sub pop, what you're trying to get, and just using that tool. So maybe it could be Google Drive. I know my previous school districts where I've taught at, Google Drive's getting big, and there's so many ways you can communicate with everybody, and you can host a survey that way as well.
I have two questions. One is guarantee of your delivery of a candidate and your product. Bidding year, do you guarantee delivery of a candidate and their success here?
Do we guarantee their success? Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, and it's in our agreement, which is the actual proposal, which you don't have there, which we'll pass out as soon as we're done here. But I'll tell you, it's a 1-year guarantee, right? Full replacement, no problems, no questions asked. The only thing we don't guarantee that on, Mr. English, is for the lack of work. So in other words, and I know that won't happen. But if there is a lack of work and you guys have to lay off the superintendent, which never happens, just so you know, then that would be a time where we would not replace the person. But if there's for any reason, it basically stipulates that in the language of the agreement.
Well, what's your track record on placing candidates that have needed? I've noticed you guys placed Lovejoy, so I guess that one really sticks out in my mind. How long was he placed, or how long ago was he placed? Did you guys?
Actually, we didn't place Lovejoy. He worked with
Yes.
Lovejoy.
Oh,
I
you
used
worked.
to be an educator. at
Oh,
Lovejoy.
okay.
I was head coach and then educator as well.
Oh, really? Okay. So, I guess what the candidates that you placed.
Yep.
I guess I kind of want to know. It says that
Highest retention.
the highest retention, but have they been successful at meeting the needs? So I know you go by the profile, you
Yep.
put these people in.
That's a great question.
If they're only there 2 to 3 years,
That's a great question, and from a cumulative standpoint, I can say yes, emphatically, the level of success has outpaced the norm. And I think that what happens there is the level of search that we employ is different than the majority of, and I'm talking with my back to the community. I apologize, everyone. But the level of search that we employ is different than the majority of the firms that search for candidates at this level. And let me tell you what I mean by that. What we found in our data, in our collection of data, is that the majority of the superintendent search firms are ex-superintendents, right? And what that really typically means is it's a network of people who know other people who kind of gravitate toward each other. And it's not finding that superintendent that is doing well somewhere and has been doing well somewhere and wants to come somewhere and do well again. It's typically reactive candidates who are a part of that network that are either on their way out, their contract is about to end, there's something going on, and they're about to leave anyway. So all I have to do is call my friend, who I know is a superintendent, who I used to work with, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're a search firm, and our job is to get on the phone and call every single superintendent in the state, in the region, or in the country, whatever that search needs to look like. And what we do is we employ the information that you give us to talk to them about, determine if they're going to be a fit, and then we keep marching down that path until we find someone who has been successful somewhere, is successful somewhere, and probably next year will be successful in that same place, but has the desire to look at something different based on the fact that we reached out to them and helped them understand that Little Elm could use a guy like you, right? And then we expect or hope or pray that the board and the community embraces that person and helps us finish that product or finish that sale with that particular candidate by telling them all the good things about, but obviously there's, we don't want to paint a rosy picture if the picture ain't rosy, because then what we're looking for is a person who wants a challenge, somebody who took on a challenge, someone who's a change agent, someone who's turned something around from whatever it was. And that's how we work. We're not a casting a wide net and just see what sticks and see what we can get. It's let's talk to everybody and let's see who's making a difference where they are. And then let's help them understand how they can come here and make a difference as well. So that's the difference in how our search process goes.
Where are you posting your ads?
Well, see, there you go. That would be a reactive approach. We're not a reactive search firm. We're not posting ads unless, of course, you want us to post ads. Now, one thing we do is we do media pieces in a variety of newspapers and a variety of websites,
Social
networking, et cetera, because the name Kay Bassman is synonymous with strength and international strength, as a matter of fact. But here's what we do differently, Mr. Flores. Instead of posting an ad on Career Builder, we're calling everybody that is potentially a candidate, and we're having conversations with them. Because we're not looking for reactive people. We're not looking for people who are looking to leave. We're looking for people who are happy somewhere and doing well somewhere that we can bring and attract to your school district.
But you mentioned there's 1,200 surrounding superintendents.
1,200 taxes
1,200
plus, yeah.
in the surrounding area. How do you know that those candidates or those potential candidates fit our profile?
We don't until we have
So
a conversation.
We have to have that
You're gonna reach
conversation
out
with
to
the
all of
board
those.
We reach out
to
to every
find
single
out
one of
what
them.
is that profile.
Every single day of the week, our firm, in our practice, makes somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 phone calls. And that's based on all the searches that we're
What
doing.
does a typical phone call sound like?
That's a good question.
That's-
That's a good question.
Or
I'm going to
just a
answer
quick
this question. Are we good? I mean, I don't want to run over
Yeah,
here.
we're ready to get
Yeah, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to tell them who we are, we're going to tell them why we're calling, and we're going to let them know that, we might have heard from someone, or at least we've looked at your track record and we found that you might be a person of interest to a school group that we're currently working for. What can you, and maybe even ask them, talk to me about what's going on in your school district. Just start a conversation with them, and that conversation will go on for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. And that's the way we have found that it works for us. And it works really good. And I'm going to tell you this, and let me just, you're asking me to give away trade secrets is really what you're doing. I don't want to do that.
There's nobody else here.
Yeah, well, we never know. We never know. But let me just tell you this. We are in August, right? Our group alone has placed, I want to say, close to 50 people in the education industry nationwide. Our group alone. And that's Greg, myself, 4 other people, a couple of researchers, and a couple of part-timers. That's a pretty good track record. And of those 50 plus, they're all making a difference somewhere. And our retention numbers speak for themselves. Our track record obviously speaks for itself. And we're just really good at helping you look better. That's what we are. Speaking of which, and I do have to bring this up, and I want to, since we're kind of asking questions here, obviously there's a few things going on press-wise that have to be overcome. It's the elephant in the room, right? So let me just ask you, Mr. Flores, or anyone for that matter, how do we overcome what might be seen as somewhat of a negative exit of the last superintendent? I'm just guessing from an external person reading information, right? Which, by the way, is what the other 50% of the 1,200 might be, right? So those are the type of questions we ask you, and then what we do is we employ our ability to ensure that we're able to make that not a weakness but a strength, right? So that's part of what a real search firm does. And I'm going to tell you guys from an experience standpoint, one of the things that we do and do really well is we help our clients attract the best talent, simply because we're extremely diligent, we're extremely proactive. Our name is synonymous with good things happening, and people typically won't engage with a search firm just because of the search firm, but because K. Bassman has such a good name in the community, as well as the country, as well as internationally, they know we're not going to attach our wagon to someone who's not going to be something that they might want to take a look at.
Let me ask you about potential timelines. Do you guys do timelines for search?
Yep, and I'm thinking that the search for this superintendent is probably going to be about a 90-day search. Realistically, I'm thinking it's about a 90-day. And why?
That's including with the 21-day
Yeah.
period, with the long finals.
And,
You know?
and the reason for that, again, is because, like I said, we're a proactive search firm, and I'll tell you what's probably going to be the biggest challenge for Little Elm is making the decision over which one of the 2 or 3 we finally make a selection to choose.
Because we're gonna hand you, we're not gonna rank them, and we're gonna give you the candidates, because obviously, you live here, you live in the community, you face this day in, day out, you know what this community needs, and we're not gonna put, we're gonna make sure this is the only search we're doing in the Dallas Metroplex.
Let me touch on that real quick, and I'm going to say something that might come as a shock to you guys, but we never search for more than one superintendent in one metropolitan area. And it might be obvious why, but let me tell you. Let's say, for instance, we have a search going on in Arlington, or Lovejoy, or Lake Worth, or wherever it might be, right? And we also engage on a retained search with Little Elm. What that automatically does is it splits your candidate pool in half, right? Because I've got to satisfy the other side, yet I still have to satisfy you. Now, a true retained search means that you get first right of refusal. So if I've got 2 searches going on, and I've got 2 qualified candidates, and I give them one to you and one to you, what about that other one over there? That's a problem for me. And that's a conflict of interest that K. Bassman never does. And the reason we never do that also is because it could also create a bidding war. Anybody see how that could happen? Let's say that let's say that you have a desire to bring one candidate on that you've looked at, that we've brought you. But the other candidate that you've seen also might be looking at you and the other school as well. Now you've got 2 schools looking at the same person. Okay? Let me restate that. So I'm the candidate. I interview with you. You guys love me. But I'm still the candidate, and I go interview with him. He loves me. Right? So I know now that I've got 2 groups that love me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to leverage that, and I'm going to say, okay, who loves me more? Who loves me more? Show me in dollars, and that'll help me make my decision. That's one of the reasons we never do that. Secondly, it's just a conflict of interest.
You were talking about recruiting and how you call, when you're in one metropolitan area, you call everybody. If you place a superintendent for us, what's your determination to when you call that superintendent back?
That same superintendent?
If we place it at Little Elm,
Yeah, you
Yeah,
place
we
the
won't-
superintendent here, and then you go down to Austin
Yeah.
and go do another
we don't
search
play
firm.
buddy-buddy, we're not
We
gonna
don't do that.
recycle.
We've never done that. We won't do that.
Okay.
There's no reason for us to do that.
Well, you
Because
just
I'm
said you would
trying to
call all
build-
1,238, and I'm thinking, well, if y'all just placed one in a different area, you
We're
don't
trying
call
to
it.
build that long-term relationship.
That's a good question, but I think one of the things that we didn't say was if we've placed 5, those 5 won't get called out at 12:30 game. There could be some people right up there in Arkansas, Ardmore, Oklahoma, or somewhere like that that we might call, but we're not gonna call the people that we've already placed. That's just wrong. It's just horrible business. Because, and the reason is we want your business again, when you guys need a athletic director, or when you need, a CFO or something like that. We don't want to leave a bad taste in the mouth of our clients, right?
Any more questions we have?
I think we've got just a couple more slides.
Okay, you got about another minute.
Okay. Well, we just talked about that. Let's just get away from that. All right, so you were asking about ads. Okay, so if you do want an ad posted somewhere, the good news is we've got an in-house marketing and communication group. They do all of our social media. They do all of our just marketing and communications. If you want any, as a matter of fact, they would be the ones that did the survey money. But any digital media communication strategy, design, or solution that we would need to assist your school group in identifying whatever talent pool you're looking for, we've got that on site that can help us. References are in there. We got a little spotlight, snapshot of the city of Little Elm. That information could be a little dated, which is basically us trying to let you guys know that we try to keep our thumb on the pulse of the communities that we work in, and that is also helpful in identifying the profile or talking about the profile of the person that you're looking for. That we already talked about. And this is, I think, really important. We're the #1 search firm in Dallas. We're the largest single-site search firm in the country. We are ranked #1 largest retained executive search firm in Dallas and the 11th in the United States. So in other words, you don't get to be that by taking candidates from your clients, first of all, and secondly, and probably more importantly, our level of business and decorum as it relates to business is fairly flawless. That's me and him. Any other questions?
Any questions from the board? Okay.
It's good.
Thank you very much.
All right, so I'm going to pass these out. These are going to be, this includes our
It's good meeting.
includes our agreement.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, we appreciate you.
Thank you much. Appreciate it.
Excuse me. Understand from Mr. Gutierrez that you guys just took new pictures.
Finally.
Put on your website, because everybody here has not changed, I will tell you that. So, y'all don't age. It's the water in Little Elm. I'm going to leave a couple more of these with you as well. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thank you very much. Okay. Let me ask you a question before I go. What's the next stage of this process?
We'll make a decision this evening, and then we'll notify the firms.
Okay.
That we make a decision, and then we'll go from there.
Hope to hear from you soon. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
President, I'll just see if they can wait till Monday to actually make the final vote.
Why is that?
Well, just after seeing everything and hearing everything and knowing that 3 of our members aren't here, I think it might be a good idea. Not to mention, we might have some more input from the community on this one.
Well, I think, they are not going to be here for presentation, because they kind of missed out on that one.
Yeah.
So I think they missed out on the presentation. If they wanted to come for presentation, I think there's some discussion Ms. Harding was concerned that the other 2 board members weren't here. And so,
And community input as
and
well.
community input as well. Well, I think the community,
Are we expecting to have community input on the firm, or?
I'm thinking on the
just
firm,
on the superintendent?
just on superintendent search, I would think.
I just, because my mind's kind of made up. I mean, I know I clearly have one in mind that just tonight, but at the same time, I don't want to lose it on the interview, because I'll tell you right now, I was not impressed. So,
I think since we're selecting a search firm, I mean, this is just a decision of, we select a search firm, what we're going to do and move forward. And so we can get the process started. And I think they're both firms came in and did some decent proposals.
Okay, well, you want to make a motion when we do discussion?
Yeah. So, just real quickly, just before we get into that, on both of those both have search agreements. Search agreements come with a proposal, what they have to do, as well as on page 3 and page 1 for both, cost and pricing information, as well as agreement information.
Make a motion before we do any discussion.
Yeah. So just take a quick second to look that over before we start making some motions. All right, good. So there's a motion before us to approve the executive search firm for superintendent. The motion for either approval for Bobby Griggs and Associates and our K Bassman as the retained search firm for superintendent search. Is there any motions for either firm?
I'll make a motion to, I'm not sure this is the correct format, but to bring the Griggs and Associates.
One second.
Okay, there's a motion for approval for Griggs and Associates for search firm for superintendent. There is a second.
Yep.
Is there any further discussion?
I mean, I don't know why I picked on them.
I want to be honest, I think Mr. Griggs kind of blew it out of the water.
I do too.
I think if you keep in, you know, the town of Little Elm, we're a small network, we're a small community. I think they were personable. I think they were more interested in, you know, I didn't mind K Bassman, but I also think they're big. And this seemed to be more of a fit for our town, in my opinion.
I think we'll put the time in to get the community, because we're going to need a lot of input. We're going to need a lot of help with this.
What I found with the search firm, K Bassman, it was more or less just a search firm, not a firm that was trying to understand how we operate as a community, what's important to our community, and building a profile that we as a community, which is important, can put together to find the right fit for us as a community, including staff, the school district, the community members, community leaders, etc.
I was just impressed with the fact that I think they would address, and they'll address any questions that the community may have or anyone may have before anyone even has to ask those questions, because they were just so thorough about their presentation and what they brought to the table.
Another big factor too is this will probably, neither one of them were the cheapest when I looked at all of them initially. And they weren't the most expensive, but I think for what we're going to end up spending, I do believe that Griggs will. I think we're going to get our money for it, then we're not going to be nickel and dime.
I think you look at their experience too. They're educators. They've come from that background. They have 20, 30 years experience, so I think that is an edge up on candidates.
Well, they were all superintendents as well.
K Bassman was actually more expensive.
I was, I
That
thought
wasn't,
that was
that wasn't the
backwards.
reason why I didn't select them, but.
Yeah, do see expense.
Yeah, that wasn't my first reason either. The thing that stuck out about Griggs when I talked about them on Monday was the fact that all of them were ex-superintendents. So they've all been there, they've done that, they've done the job, they know what it takes. I think they'll have better input.
And I think another, the biggest important thing for us is community involvement. I think having the community involved with what's going on, having that input, getting a profile based on all the different areas that we represent as a community and as a board is highly important. You know, as a representation, we represent everyone, all the cities. It's not just one area, and they understand that important aspect. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Yes, cost for K Bassman, 14,000, and cost for Griggs was 12,500, plus expenses, both of them plus expenses.
And then this one also had the markup on the other service fees, if you look in paragraph 2.
Yep.
So that right there would put it considerably more expensive.
Okay. All those in favor of Bob Griggs and Associates to represent us for Little Elm Search for superintendent? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next up. Pretty quick, future agenda items. Do we have anything there?
No.
No? Any board comments?
Just need a couple of
Any board comments?
I got butterflies in my stomach.
Yeah, I
I wanted to
understand.
wait till Monday.
I understand. All right.
Put that in minutes.
Yes, ma'am. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
I'll move, adjournment is moved, second.
Second?
Second, all in favor? Meeting is adjourned.